Let's continue. Naos, David Stern says, means new in respect to time, what I just said, implying immaturity or lack of development. Kainos means new or renewed in respect to quality, contrasting with old or not renewed and implying superiority. So those are the two words. Again, sometimes there's a little bit of overlap in the Greek, right? In other words, it's not that naos always and 100% always means new in time, and kainos always and 100% always means new in quality. Because indeed, if you use the word new in connection with the word covenant, as in new covenant, and you look up all the passages in the New Testament that use the Greek phrase new covenant, what you'll find is that some of the verses use the Greek word naos when it comes to covenant, which is diatheke. So it's a naos diatheke. And some of the verses use the word kainos diatheke. So sometimes it's a new covenant, and other times it's a renewed covenant or something to that effect. So the point being is there are aspects that can bleed over, carry over from one versus the other. So don't get 100% hung up. Don't hang all of your eggs in one basket. Hang all your eggs. Put all your eggs in one basket in that regards. But David Stern continues, and we'll finish off tonight with this part. David Stern says, old wineskins have lost their strength and elasticity so that they cannot withstand the pressure of new wine still fermenting, right? There's the common sense aspect. Although an old wineskin can be restored to service, watch this, if its useful qualities are renewed. So Judaism doesn't need to be discarded if we understand that Jesus was coming to bring and restore Judaism back to its original God-intended purpose or version, reset the whole thing, right? It's almost like Judaism when it was, and I'll close with this, Judaism was given as a lifestyle to the people of Israel when they came out of Egypt, because otherwise their lifestyle was basically Egyptian. They'd been in slavery for so long in Egypt that they didn't really know what it meant. In fact, there was no way to know what it meant to live according to God's standards because God hadn't given them corporately, a people group, standards anyway, right? Sinai even hadn't happened yet. They didn't have the law of Moses. They lived in Egypt. They lived as Egyptians, basically. They lived like the Egyptians lived. So their lifestyle and their mindset was basically Egyptian. But when God set them free from Egypt and broke that legal tie with the Pharaoh, he brought them to the foot of Sinai and gave them a new lifestyle, right? Which was contradictory to and different, way different than the lifestyle they used to lead, right? Suddenly their life of believing that there's a pantheon of gods and multiple gods and things like that, or that Pharaoh was God, suddenly their life is new. No, there's only one God. Suddenly, holiness took on a whole new factor, and sin and the description of sin was all suddenly defined in sharp terms. And so the point I'm trying to make is that at that time, one could imagine that the version of Judaism that God was giving to the Jewish people, or Hebrew lifestyle, or whatever, call it what you want. If you feel uncomfortable calling it Judaism, I'm fine with that. But the religious lifestyle and the way of living that God was giving to them at Sinai was brand new to them, and yet it was pure. It's perfect, right? Had no flaws. It was only after the people began taking these new laws with them into the land and tried to implement them, but yet they still wanted to hold on to their idolatry and their old habits and their old ways of approaching people and misusing their neighbors and mistreating their neighbors and things like that, and lusting after all the gods around them and all of that stuff, that they basically began to pervert and twist and make God's lifestyle into something it wasn't designed to be. So by the fast forward all the time, by the time we get to Yeshua's day, 1,000 years into the future, 1,500 years from the time of giving law of Moses or something like that, now the version of Judaism that the Jewish people were practicing in the first century was so twisted and perverse that you couldn't even tell it was really the law of Moses anymore. It was really just the traditions of humans, of traditions of the rabbis and the elders, and the policies and halakha of the leaders and whoever was in power and things like that. And it was policy built on top of policy and incorrect ruling on top of incorrect ruling and all that. So you get my point. Yeshua came to cut through all that and restore Judaism, reset the whole thing. In today's terminology, if we're talking movies, we would say Yeshua came to reboot the franchise, right? If you're talking computer terminology, he came to wipe the whole thing clean, but do a reinstall of the original operating system. He doesn't want to lose the original operating system. He simply has to get rid of all that bloatware and the malware and the viruses and all this other stuff that's slowing the computer down and making it really buggy. So he's going to reboot, and when I say wipe it clean, I'm saying he's not going to reinstall a new operating system that didn't exist before. He's going to reinstall the same old one, but it's now fresh, like it was out of the factory, like the original manufacturer intended it, right? Your computer's squeaky clean, it's just like zippy fast. So that'll do it for our look at this particular passage. We'll pick this up again next week, but that'll do it for Judaism v. Christianity. Are Judaism and Christianity incompatible with one another?